بقرآني وإيماني
وتكبيرات إخواني.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to MashaAllah Institute of Quranic Memorization and Arabic Studies. I am Abass Luqman and this is episode 7 of Learn Basic Tajweed with Abass. Now, on this episode, inshallah, we will continue what we are explaining from episode 6, inshallah, which is Ahkamun Nun Sakina wa Tanween. So we let us understand that أقسام وأحكام النون الساكنة والتنوين أربعة, which are الإظهار, الإدغام, الإقلاب, and الإخفاء. On this episode, inshallah, we'll be moving on to the second one, which is الإدغام. الإدغام ما حد الإدغام لغة واصطلاحا؟ أما لغة فهو إدخال شيء في شيء، وأما اصطلاحا فهو التقاء حرف ساكن بمتحرك بحيث يصيران حرفا مشددا يرتفع اللسان عنه ارتفاعة واحدة. What is the definition of idgham لغة واصطلاحا? أما لغة, linguistically, idgham means إدخال شيء في شيء, to insert or merge one thing into another. So what are we inserting and what are we merging together? We will be inserting nun sakina and tanween into what we will be explaining to us as the Arabic alphabet that idgham chooses out of the 28 Arabic alphabets we have. وأما اصطلاحا, technically in tajweed, idgham is when a non-vowel letter, a letter with sukun, meets a vowel letter, a letter with haraka, and they are merged to become one strong stressed letter where the tongue lifts only once when pronouncing it. That's the technical definition of idgham. It still explains the same thing but in a more technical way. كم حروف الإدغام? How many alphabets does idgham has? Please, if you are yet to listen to episode 6, do well to listen to it. لله ورسوله. نعم, الإدغام كم حروفه؟ حروفه 6 وهو مجموعة في قولك. Idgham alphabets are 6, like that of إظهار. مجموعته في قولك, they are all combined and combined into one word, which is يرملون. يرملون. So to break it down, it is yaw, ra, mim, lam, waw, and nun. So these are the alphabets of idgham. Let's move on. ينقسم الإدغام إلى قسمين. Idgham on its own, it's still been divided. It has two divisions on its own. الأول إدغام ناقص بغنة، والثاني إدغام كامل بغير غنة. We have إدغام ناقص بغنة and إدغام كامل بغير غنة. إدغام ناقص بغنة means incomplete idgham with غنة. So it's an incomplete margin with غنة. While the second one, which is what? إدغام كامل بغير, we can even say بلا غنة, which is the complete idgham without gunna. So nasal sound, I think we all should understand what the word nasal sound means. So nasal is it's nose. So nasal is just a way of saying nose sound. Exactly. So the sound we make with our nose, that's what nasal sounds means. Now let's move on. Idgham munakis, which is the complete which is the incomplete with gunna. This type keeps light nasal sound, gunna. When merging the letters, it is called incomplete. It is called incomplete. That's the word nakis. Because the sound is not fully merged, there is still a trace of the known sound through the nose. It occurs with these following letters. You know, we said idgham is being divided into two, and don't forget, idgham has 6 alphabets on its own, which are ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, and nun, yarmalun. But naqis, which is the incomplete out of the two different divisions that idgham has, it's letting us understand that how and when, and the reason why it's being called incomplete is because when we are merging, which is idgham, when we are merging the noun with this following alphabet, we won't merge it completely. Exactly, because if you look at the explanation and the explanation of what idgham means, it's merging two things into one. But in this case, we will be merging nun sakina with either yaw, nun, mim, or waw. But in this case, there will be a form of a nasal sound which will still give and brings the sound of nun, which is and was supposed to be merged with this alphabet, with either of these alphabets. Because it's going to be incomplete, and while merging them, the sound nun is going to be seen and heard if you listen very well. That's why it is being called idgham munakis bi gunna. Now, example, we have man ya'mal. It's read as man ya'mal with a nasal tone, which is a nasal sound or nasal tone. It should have been just man ya'mal, which in that case won't let us know that okay, there is a nun in between the nun, in between the nun. Yeah, there's a nun between the mim and but in this case, man ya'mal, pronouncing it as man ya'mal. So if you listen very well, you know that what there is definitely a nun before we pronounce the ya. Now let's move on. Number 2, we have idgham kamil bighayri gunna, idgham that is complete without gunna, which is the margin that is complete without no nasal sound. This type has no nasal sound now, and the nun, which is tanween or either tanween now, sound is completely merged and disappears. When you are merging nun with either of these remaining alphabets of idgham, you merge it completely, and when you imagine it, there is nothing like nasal sound, and because there won't be any introduction of nasal sound, that will make it complete. And it's being complete, that means this idgham we will be merging it in a complete sense. That's why it's being called idgham kamil bighayri gunna. Now, example. So let's say we have example of lam or ra now. So now don't forget the alphabets of idgham kamil bighayri gunna are lam and ra. So that's been said. So milla dunka rahmatan. So milla, nothing in that pronunciation brings about the availability of nun or sakina. Now, so for us to have a proper understanding of this before we move on, let's take a look at some examples of these idghams. Now we have nun sakin and tanween. So example of ya, we have an yaqulu, which are the examples of nun sakina. For naqis, don't forget, okay, this we first list the examples of naqis before we list the examples of kamil. Now, quick one, ya an yaqulu, nun in naqulu, mim hudan min rabbihim, wow, hudan wa rahmah. So examples of idgham kamil bighayri gunna, we have hudan lil muttaqin, hudan lil. You see how that sounds? So you should be able to understand that yes, there is nothing like a nasal sound there. And we have mir rabbihim. Is that clear? Now, so that's just for you can visibly see these examples. You can do well by pronouncing it yourself again. Now, last but not least, فإن كان حرف يا وواو في أو يا أو واو في كلمة واحد يجب إظهارها. If the alphabet ya or wow, which are 2 out of the 6 alphabets that idgham has, if they are found in one word, us having man ya'mal min rabbihim, this min on its own, rabbihim on its own, man on its own, ya'mal on its own, these are different words combining to bring about the rules of idgham. But in a case whereby we find these 2 alphabets, ya or wow, and before them there is a nun sakina in a word, yajib idharaha, they say it's best for us to show the nun, which means we will bring about the rule of idhar. If the letters ya or wow appears in the same word as the nun sakina, then idgham margin does not apply. It won't be applied. Instead, we must pronounce the nun clearly. This is called izhar, clear pronunciation. This rule is an exception to the general idgham rule. Note that these rules are exceptions. They are exceptions in the case whereby there are specific words in which these things occur too. Examples from the Quran were this. We have dunya. You can see nun, it comes before ya. You can say dunya. So dunya. Another example is bunyan. Clear nun sound before ya. And another example is bunyan. You can say bunyan. And we also have qinwan and sinwan. Is that clear? Now, so in this case, wherever you find yourself in this kind of case, you are reading the Quran and you are like, but this is noon before wow, or this is wow after noon, and you find it in a word, so it should be one of these words. So just know that what you are to do is har there. Now, in each of these words, even though the letters ya and wow, which usually cause idgham, follow a nun sakina, because they are in the same word, we do not merge it. We pronounce the nun clearly. This maintains the original structure and clarity of the word as revealed in the Quran. So lastly, in addition, you can find yourself in a case whereby you will be asked, as I do like to add to it for those of us that are hafiz and do attend Quranic competitions, and they ask you, man ya'mal, what is the rule? You just say what? Idgham munakis bigunna. Or they ask you, Ghafurur Rahim, just answer them by saying what? Idgham kamil bigunna. And in a case whereby they ask you either of these ones that we explained last, dunyan, bunyan, how are you going to answer it? Are you going to say izharu halkiyat like I said last time? No, you have to say what? Izharu mutlaq. Fassalamu alaikum.